All right, thank you for joining today at our eighth WMUG Tuesdays already. Today we have Jörgen Nilsson joining us, and he will be talking about MEMCM Technical Preview update. A lot of investments has been made in the technical previews, so there's a lot to tell. Thanks for joining, Jörgen.
Thanks for having me.
So let's move on a little bit further. Thanks also for our sponsors. Without any sponsor, we're not able to organize any events like this. And hopefully we will be back with in-person events very soon, because human interaction is the best way to share knowledge and to ask questions directly. So today we don't have a Q&A option, unfortunately. For some reason it doesn't work, so we would encourage you to use Twitter and to use the hashtag WMUG_NL if you have a question for Jörgen or you have a question for us. Kenneth and myself will be monitoring the hashtag, so if you have a question, we can ask it for you to Jörgen. So use Twitter, join all the other channels, and of course join our YouTube channel. I think when we hit 100, then we have a normal URL to share instead of a large GUID. Next week we have a week off, but in the week after we announced today that we will having Bert Wolters joining us at the WMUG Tuesdays webinar. The topic will be announced very soon, so keep an eye on that and subscribe RSVP via the meetup. And like I said, today we have Jörgen Nilsson. Thanks again for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. So let's start with this one, right? So, technical previews. Why do we talk about technical previews? And Peter already presented me as well. I have a great honor being an MVP as well, and you have all my contact information here if you'd like to contact me afterwards with additional questions or thoughts or anything else. So why do we talk a lot about technical previews? Well, technical previews are amazing. The configuration manager team are putting a huge effort into the technical preview releases, making them pretty good quality for being technical preview. But if you really want to affect where we're going with the product and to make sure that it fits your needs, you should definitely look at the technical previews, because as the features are currently in development, they will listen to us and they will change if you like something changed, or because if you need it, most likely someone else does as well. And the best way of doing that is sending these little smileys, which is really small up in the corner. But that's the absolutely best way of doing it. Sending smileys and send information. Send, I like this, I don't like this, I want this. I need a suggestion instead. And they will listen, especially for technical preview. They will contact you by mail, most likely afterwards, and thanking you, or maybe follow-up questions as well. I've had that many times, and I try different email addresses as well, just to be anonymous as well. So the system really works. And when we wrote this, we said we're going to go talk about the technical preview since 2002 and back forward, but actually most of those features are in the product already. So we're going to start with Configuration Manager 2004 Tech Preview. So we have Tech Preview for 2004 and 2005 to cover in this time we have here. And some really great features are here, some features that we never ever thought that we would see, and some features that will be extremely useful in the future. So let's hope we can get everything working in the technical previews, and then we'll start. As Configuration Manager evolves into a more and more hybrid solution, Microsoft saw a need of being able to push messages to us as admins. And that's actually in the technical preview now as well. And that could be great, because many configuration manager admins I talk to, they never ever start or open the Office 365 admin portal, so they don't see any messages there about outages or something like that. Take, for example, hybrid MDM, which is deprecated since, I don't know, almost 2 years or 1.5 or something like that. But I guess there's still people using it out there. With a feature like this, Microsoft can reach out and saying, hey, you're using a feature we're going to deprecate. You need to plan for change now. So that's actually, and of course you can turn it off if you don't like, but I think this will be extremely useful in the future when we get more and more hybrid features in here. So your configuration manager environment are rely on different and cloud services as well. And they will look like this. This is one of the first test messages that was sent out, where Microsoft urged everyone to send a smiley if they actually saw it. The kind of funny thing is that it was actually a message that's not, you can't turn it off, you can't accept it so it goes away. So it was actually there for a long while in the console. But this is a good example. So if we have, I can see this in the future with more and more hybrid features, we see more and more a need of communicating where there's a problem with the hybrid backend, for example. So I hope this will be used in the correct way, of course, as well, so we don't get spammed with a lot of information as well. So that's really good. So they're also they're doing things that I wished we had for, I don't know, 10 years. So I can actually right-click an object now under devices, and I can actually copy the values and the property values. And how many times haven't we wanted to have that? That's amazing. I hope it's kind of easy in the console, because it looks easy to me, and it makes so much value and will make our lives so much easier. So we can actually copy information from one machine, so we can actually add it to a ticket or whatever we like. So I can take my machine, take properties, and then I can simply just copy the value and paste it in Notepad. Like that. So that will be extremely useful when looking for MAC address, UID, serial numbers, whatever we like, instead of going somewhere else to find it. So there are some small but really, really great features coming for us. Management insight rules then. There are new ones for OS deployment, and this is the same thing here. I think management insight rules are one of the least used things. For every admin out there, when you plan your monthly configuration manager health schedule check, as you should have a check you do every day to make sure your environment is working well, and there are some things you should check once a week perhaps, and once a month I recommend that you do a bigger rundown on the environment to make sure that it works smoothly. I try to encourage everyone to use the management insight rules. Have a look at them every month. So on a monthly basis, go into the management insight rules. There's a lot of other rules than these 3. This is just the latest edition, but that's a really good way of making sure your configuration manager environment are up to date and as fast as it can be and working well. Because you have all the rules in there for collections without deployments and collections without members and applications without deployments. So you don't have to script that to get those information out there to delete all objects. You can actually see it directly in Insight rules. So what we got now is that we got a warning for large task sequences, which could be a problem, and a total policy size as well. So there's size limit for how large the task sequence can be. And there are some tips and tricks to get it smaller as well. So that's a great insight as well. So make sure you use the insights and check at them every month. I would do that. That's a great thing to make sure that it works great. We have some great improvements as well, which actually is from user voice, of course, where we actually changed the format and partition disk step, so we can actually have different disk numbers in variables. So you can run a script if it's a specific hardware. We know we have 2 disks. Disk 1 should be this, and disk 2 should be this. Then we can do those partitionings now as well. That's also a great addition, been on user voice for a while as well. So be sure to test that out as well. And again, this is technical preview. If there's something else you want in the format and partition disk step, you could definitely just file it now, and it's a big chance that it will go there because they're changing these parts of the code right now. So that was a fast rundown of the 2004 tech preview. I actually skipped one of the biggest things there because it's been improved even more in 2005. That's why I changed to this instead. So this was released, was it 1.5 weeks ago, something like that. And after that, we spent a lot of time playing with it because there's some really cool features in here, like the one you see here. A task sequence launched from boot media or Pixie can retrieve content from cloud-based sources. Is it the first? Sneak peek at OS deployment using Configuration Manager from the cloud? Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. I will try to show it soon as well, and we should do it live. Of course, live. Everything else is not that fun. So one of the absolutely coolest things we have now, I think it's actually Tenant attached. It's in 2002, but the coolest thing we have now is timeline. That will help admins and help desk and everyone troubleshoot, and I think should have been there for a long time. We've missed it so much. You can do it if you look at your own machine, for example. You have the reliability monitor where you can see app crashes. Basically, it's app crashes in the cloud. That's a good way of putting it. So Tenant Attach was what's released in 2002, and then we could only do 3 tasks: run machine policy refresh, user policy refresh, and application redeployment evaluation cycle. Now we can actually have a new one where we can run scripts, we have timeline, we have collections, we can install applications, and we have CMPIVO as well in a web-based view. So this will actually bring everything to the device management portal. So we can get, and that's what I like most, if we can get more features in there, we can have less admins in the configuration manager console, which, if we should be really frank, it's way too complex for many tasks that you do. So let's look at Tenant Attach. It's the same pre-reqs as in 2002. That was making it easy for me, right? So basically we need to turn on the feature, Microsoft Endpoint Tenant Attach, device sync and device actions. And then when we've done that, we simply just make sure that we fulfill the rest of the part, that our admins using the device management portal must be synchronized account, and the accounts must be discovered both by AAD discovery and AD discovery to make sure that they have the correct permissions. The only thing we need to change for the technical preview is we need to add permissions for the user to the Configuration Manager microservice application in Azure AD, and that's because it's technical preview. So it's not if I go to device management portal, I will only see the actions that are in production and 2002 today. But if I want to see the new features in 2005 tech preview, I must go to the preview portal as well. And if we want timeline, we need to enable that as well. That's a client setting saying enable endpoint analytics data collection, basically. Then we enable timeline as well. Let's do it this way. I recorded a video on how this looks actually. Let's see if we can get it to start. So basically this is my tenant and my devices. We can see here that some are configuration manager managed and some are MDM controlled. So what I want to do now is configure tenant attach. So I actually get the rest of my configuration manager machines up and running. So I already enabled the feature. So what I do now is I enable my tenant attach. It actually takes a while to open. So I configure upload. Here Microsoft recommend that we take all my devices. I would maybe not put my most critical healthcare systems up there just quite yet. But that's maybe me who's a bit too careful. I sign into my account in Azure where I have the permissions. And that takes a little while. And when that's done, I will actually see a new dialog asking me to approve that this will happen. I will grant consent basically. If my video is working, we'll say. Something happened at least. And then when I go to my log file, I can see that it's synced. And then when I go to the devices view, I can now see that I have my new devices here. And this is what you have in 2002 as well. So here I can see my devices and I can see that they're only managed by configuration manager and not, they're not hybrid managed, but they're not co-managed and they're not MDM enrolled. So they're only on-premise managed, but I can still do some actions on them. So that's basically how we set it up. So setting it up, it takes a couple of minutes before the sync to establish, but after that it's fine and I have my 3 actions. So that's basically the setup of the tenant attach itself. And this is what's new in 2002. So most of you already most likely played with it. And it will come down to the machine. I've actually timed it as well. And it takes, I will show it later. If we can do it live, I will show you. It takes around 15 seconds to get the action from the device management portal down to configuration manager, out to the client, back from the client and up to the console again. And that's quite fast if you take into account what's happening in the backend. So let's see if we can skip that one. For the timeline events that's shown in the timeline, this is all the list right now of what's synchronized to the cloud. So we get all unknown shutdowns will be visible there, initiated shutdowns, and yeah, you can read the table yourself. So let's see if we can have a look at how it actually looks in Tech Preview 2005. So if I take my device and I start the admin center preview, which I already started just to make sure that it worked. This is where I get, so I won't be coming to the device management portal, I'll go to the preview portal. This is what I have in my view. I have all the information about my device, which site code it is, which MAC address it is, what's the management point, and I can also see boundary groups as well for my machine. And then if we go to timeline will actually show me on this machine. It will actually see that I have an initiated shutdown and I have an application error here as well. So if I click on my application error, I will actually see the whole error message as well. So I can see that it was the remote control application in configuration manager which crashed and why it crashed. So I think this will be a huge help in troubleshooting machines in the future. And if I press refresh, the machines upload this information once a day. And as I'm not that patient, I want to see this information right now. So I can press refresh. Normally refresh will only refresh the web page. What it does in this case, it will actually go down to the client, refresh ask the client to send all the information up again to the cloud, and then I have to press refresh again in a minute or so, and then it will be updated with the latest information. So it's not only a refresh of the web page, it's actually a refresh of the information in there as well. But this will be great if a user calls in and say, oh, my machine isn't working. Okay, so let's see what happened on your machine. And then we can see a timeline if there's unexpected reboot, firmware errors, or application crashes. That will be hugely helpful as well. We can also see collections in here. So we have the collections I'm a member of. In this case, I can't do anything with them. I can just see that I'm a member of these collections, basically. Install applications. This, I hope everyone, that's a hard ask. This relies on the new application approval workflow, where we actually deploy all the application to all machines, and then we enable the feature saying that we have approval, and then we enable approval on the application. So there's no collection involved anymore. We only say approved app, and it will be installed immediately. So this is actually what will happen now. So if I take CMPvo, I will actually, so what I do up here is basically I approve it or I install it. And I can also retry installation. And if I say install it here, now I haven't tested a CMPvo application since I created it an hour ago or so. I tested a lot of other ones and those worked, so we'll cross our fingers. So this is what's happening. So what's happening now is that it says initial installation initiated, and we can see the task appear as well. So it will actually report back when the installation is done on the machine as well. And that will take a couple of seconds for it to do that. And I can test in reinstall as well. If there's a problem, it says it's failed, I can do a reinstall again. And this is really, really cool. So we can actually do application. Yeah, and now you can see it reports back. Application installation is successful. And that's pretty fast, right? Considering that the policy comes down to the configuration manager server to approve the application, install it, and then report back. So that's an amazing end user experience, and that's why we try to push everyone off collections and AD groups and use approval instead, because it's so much faster and easier. CMPvo in the cloud, same here as well. If I just type administrators here, and I hope I didn't mistype it. Last time I checked, there's a number down here, so we can actually see how long it takes. Last time I checked, it took 14 or 15 seconds for it to get the information back. And then we talk, the device management portal gets the information, ask configuration manager to talk over fast channel, and now we have the information. So it took 13 seconds to get it back. That's pretty cool. So this will be amazing. And then run scripts as well. I have the same script that basically everyone has in their technical preview environment. That's one of the ones you can download from the community hub. But I can run a script as well, saying I want to run the script, get OS version. So I can do, so scripts will, if you're not using scripts today, there's a big usage for it here in this scenario where you can do it like this instead. So basically it run a script on the client and give me the information back in just a couple of seconds. So imagine giving this portal to our service desk. Then they can install applications, they can run scripts to troubleshoot the machine. They can see which collections they're in, they can see what happened on the machine. The next thing we would need is actually connect to the machine. But I will get back to connecting to the machine later as well, just before we're finished actually. But that was the tenant attached part, and for the timeline, this is the list that's on the docs right now of what's happening. And then we come to the next big thing as well. So we're talking OS deployment from CMG. So basically, the task sequence media in Configuration Manager now has support for cloud-based content. This means that I can, for example, this is what I tested so far. You could, in theory, do it from internet as well. Then we need a solution to join the domain and get policies applied. But I guess we can script VPN clients as well. So that should be doable in the future. If not, Microsoft have an even better solution for us coming. Who knows? We'll see. And this is actually, as we said before, it's crazy times now in the whole world where we have the COVID-19 hitting us. A lot of people working from home. So this, I think all the things that are in the technical preview basically have that theme, right? To help us help our users working remotely. So for in the future, we should absolutely be able to do OSD from internet totally. There are some things to solve like domain join, but right now, as a thinkable scenario, which I have at a couple of customers, is basically we have a internal WAN, but every office has a local internet connection. So basically, they have their own internet connection, and then we can say that don't download from a DP because we don't need a DP anymore. We can put the whole OSD in the cloud. And then we can actually, so I can actually pixie boot my machine and then make sure it runs from the cloud from there. So I'm thinking we should try to do that. But before we do that, we need to prepare our configuration manager environment, right? So this is my machine, and then I'll do it like this. So what I have now, to get this working, I changed the client setting to allowed cloud content. And then what I do is I do some things with our boundaries. That's why I do it now, otherwise my application deployment would have failed. So this is my boundary and this is my reference. So I basically just remove my on-premise MP and I say use my CMG instead. And the only thing I have in options as well is say preferred cloud-based sources. So let's do it like that. And then we switch to another machine. We can take this one. Make sure it starts from network adapter. And then we'll just shut down something that we don't need. Like that one. So we have memory enough. My Intel NUCs are running low on memory. That's for sure. So let's try again. So I just pixie boot for my normal pixie boot. I could do enough media boot as well, of course. So it will, as always, download my boot WIM from my Pixie DP this time. It could have been in media as well. But the only thing I changed now is make sure that this boundary is doesn't have an on-prem DP associated with it anymore. And it will run everything from the cloud. So what I've done while we're waiting for that one is that I've basically, if we look at my distribution point and we take my cloud, my CMG, and we open it and we look at what content I have. Basically, I have all my content in here. I have my configuration manager client package. I have my 7-zip, which is included in the task sequence. And I have my Windows 10 1903 image and boot image as well. And that's the only thing I have in my pretty simple task sequence. So that's basically what I've done. Change the boundary, allow CMG communication, and then just booted it. We enter the super secret password. We get our 1903. And then we could actually spot it straight off because it will take longer to download it from the cloud than it would do on premise. Even if I have a really, really good internet connection right now, it still takes a while to do it. So we can just let it partition the drive. We can open CM trace as well. See if we get the log file soon. We can show that it actually downloads from the cloud. So apply operating system, and if we look at the speed here, we should see that it's not super fast, as it maybe would be if I would do it over a gig LAN connection instead. So we can just now determine that it's running from the CMG. And that's actually really, really cool. This is the, I think it's hard to show it in any other way because we're not, we haven't got anything else there yet to show, but the easiest way is to do something like this and do like that. And then we can see that it does a content location reply, and it actually gets our found location. It actually gets our, let's see if I can do like this. It actually gets our my cloud app.net, my CMG location as the location to download from. So it actually runs from the cloud totally. But it will still contact the MP in this scenario to pull the policies. But it's really cool. Will be hopefully, and again, it's correct in time, right? We have a lot of people working from home, and if we can re-image a machine using Configuration Manager from the cloud, that would be really cool. For now, we need the solution for this problem, but at least it works from the cloud so far. So test it out. If you're running Technical Preview, test it out. Setting up a CMG, it's a good practice. It takes a couple of seconds to get everything correct. And then, as always, we need a Configuration Manager cup of coffee because normally I'm too impatient and doesn't wait long enough. Otherwise, it's just relax. The CMG will start work. So that's the OSG from the CMG. We have a great new VPN boundary type as well. And if I look at Reddit, TechNet forum, user groups, Facebook groups, there's been a lot of questions lately on how should I configure my boundary to make sure that my clients on VPN are in a boundary group for that, and how should I do this, and how do I do it for direct access, and how do I do it here? And again, Microsoft is listening. So what they did is they actually introduced a new boundary type. So we have a boundary type now called VPN, which is actually amazing. You can only have one, at least in Technical Preview, and it will actually auto-detect that your client is connected to a VPN. So they are asking people, of course, for as many as possible to test it out if you're using Technical Preview. To make sure that that detection works. But it would be great, right? Just create the VPN network. This is my VPN users. And here are the site systems you should use and how it should communicate and everything. That will save a lot of questions on Reddit and forums and hopefully make our lives easier. And again, very much the problem we're seeing rising now when everyone is working from home. We have some great enable BitLocker improvements as well. So if normally when we enable BitLocker, we import reg files to make sure that it has the correct encryption method. Now we don't need to do that anymore. We actually have a drop-down list where we can say which encryption mode we like, and that it should skip this step if there isn't a TPM on the machine. And that's for the full encryption step. And for the pre-provision, we have the same thing, disk encryption mode, and skip it again. So this will save us writing some extra manual conditions, and it will save us importing a reg file if we want a specific disk encryption mode applied. So again, get rid of reg files in our task sequence and build build the function in. It's much more robust and reliable and easy to use as well. I actually did a new installation of Configuration Manager like 2 weeks ago. And if you have a admin who never used it before, you realize it's a big learning curve, and everything, especially OSD, if we can make more steps built in, that makes it much easier for everyone as well. The community hub has been around in a couple of flavors, and up and down. This is something we have high hopes for. It moved to GitHub now, or Git, and it actually works as it should as well now. But right now, Microsoft is the only one who's able to publish content to it. But basically, it does, right? So we have our. Oh, let's see if I can. So that's much easier if I have the tab as well visible. So basically, this is what we have in our production, but we have in technical previews, we actually have our community hub as well. So here I can actually, from the start, it was only scripts we could share, and there was a promise of more. In the technical preview right now, Microsoft has published 4 scripts and 2 task sequences for us. Reports will also be able to be published this way. And this will be a great thing when the community can contribute as well. So I can say, maybe I want something that Peter has written and put up there. And then I can find it directly in the console just by searching. So instead of Googling what you need, hopefully there's a verified script, report, task sequence, or solution in your console already. And basically, it's as simple as if I want confirm secure boot UEFI, and then basically I just say download, and you can read who did it, what it does, and where it comes from. I say download, and then download it and import it in the console. So if I go to scripts, I can now see that I've done this before, but I didn't do that particular one actually. So I can actually see that I have this one now. I have the confirm secure boot UEFI devices, and I need to approve it, of course. But if this will be great for Microsoft and all the great resources at Microsoft for providing additional value to us. But if this can be opened up to the community in some kind of community where someone moderates the content and make sure nobody puts anything harmful in there, I guess that's one of the challenges as well. Or if they, and that's something we get as well, at least in Sweden. It's scary to share something because maybe someone thought you did a bad script or something. So hopefully there will be somehow some way to the community. So basically the scripts may be here. They are flagged already, Microsoft or community, or if there will be different tabs. I don't know. I'm just thinking how I would like it. So I can differentiate from Microsoft provided scripts and community provided. It would be cool with like a score count as well, that Jörgen's script, they're horrible. So he gets like 400 thumbs down, and then I will be showed in the last of all the search results, or the other way around, of course, or something like that would be really cool. Just to get like a community driven thing in here. If that's possible, I don't know, but it would be really, really nice if we could do something like that as well. This is also new. What will actually happen with the information, you will still maybe need to open a support case, but this will happen. This will only be visible if your upgrade fails. If it's successful, it won't be shown. As this is technical preview, it's always shown so we can test it out, right? So if I go into administration and I say updates and servicing, and I select my update, I have a new icon up here. Report update error to Microsoft. And of course, as I can push it, we should, right? So it collects a lot of log files for us, which it will actually send to Microsoft as well. And I can attach more files if I like, and I can provide information of what the error I saw was. And then we can say, okay, fine, next. And then it will actually submit the feedback to Microsoft and all the log files included as well. And hopefully this will make the product better for everyone, so they can fix all those small twerks as well. And for everyone in fastering, there's a slight bigger risk that you will run into something, and hopefully we can fix it for someone else, right? So and the information is contained as well, and you can save a copy of the feedback and the information you sent as well. If you, for some reason, security, logging, auditing, and need to save that information, you can as well. So that will help Microsoft solve those last small number of failed upgrades, I hope. So that's great. My Office Pro Plus has been renamed, right? Everyone knows that. So it's now Office 365 Apps for Enterprise. So it's updated to Office 365 Apps. There will be guidance and help as well, and links as well, to help us recreate our ADRs as well, to affiliate this name change as well. I haven't tested today, but I tested last week, and I have it, depending if you try to deploy Office 365 using the admin console in 2002, the production build, it will actually fail to download my content, at least because the names have changed, right? So hopefully this will fix it, and they will fix it as soon as possible for us. So this is more keeping up to what's happening around us, right? More features then. I'm trying to finish here as well. More features then. Azure AD authentication in Software Center. Azure AD authentication, that's been a problem or an issue for some while. If you are in modern managed client with the configuration manager client installed, so you're actually doing Azure AD join and MDM join and Intune management, but you're still having configuration manager in there as well. A scenario I see now picking up again as bigger customers move to a hybrid world. I actually see that more and more people are using configuration manager in hybrid as well. So this will be great that they will fix those last things. That's one of the quirks we have. And the reason for doing that in co-management and hybrid management of a machine is, of course, all the investment you've made in applications and all the ways we can deploy an application in configuration manager, which we maybe cannot do in Intune, at least not yet. We can do a lot, but we can't do everything. And we have tested everything. So I see when large organizations are moving to a modern client, they often still use configuration manager. One of the workloads that's last to be moved is applications, because of all the testing and all the task sequences that run installations and everything old and dirty we have out there that's still used, right? We can also select to install and upgrade clients even after a metered connection. So we can actually force that by a variable to the client as well. And there's a great improvements to cloud management gateway commandlets as well. It's hard for me to show now as I already have mine, but basically you can set up a CMG just by using the commandlets now, which is also great in these times as well, as we need it more, right? So more and more things are moving to CMG. And as we always said, CMG is not only for managing internet clients, it's for the future, right? And talking about the future as the last sneak peek, this was, maybe I'm mistaking now. This was introduced in Technical Preview 1906, I think, or if it was 1905, I can't remember exactly. Basically, it allows us to remote control a machine over CMG or HTTP SMP. So if I try to remote control a machine which I can't reach right now, so if I take my server, for instance, let's see if this works, and then I say start, and then I say remote control, then I get this dialog instead. So I actually prompted for what's the address of the machine I want to do? Do I want to connect over CMG or HTTP SMP? What's the server name? What's the port? And verify certificate revocation as well. It actually fails. Oh, it doesn't fail because this one is on my machine, so it still works as it's local, right? But I can't get it to remote control a machine over internet right now, at least. So I need to, yeah, and then it doesn't go very well. But this is actually, again, a great example of a thing we've needed for years, and many customers bought other solutions to solve this problem. But if we can get it built in, how great wouldn't that be, right? So we can actually remote control a machine wherever it is over CMG, over Azure AD, authentication, and certs, and a 443 HTTPS traffic, of course. That would be extremely cool if we could achieve that as a long-awaited feature as well. And again, a great feature in the times we live in, right? So to sum that up, what we've talked about and played with so far, the Configuration Manager 2006, that's being released after summer, middle of vacation time in Sweden normally, at least. Let's see if that's the same this year. We'll hopefully have all those features we saw here today. And I think this shows a clear focus from Microsoft to actually help our admins manage the remote workforce in these strange times we live in right now. So let's hope all the features make it to the 2006 release. And again, if you're not using a technical preview release, I would install it, deploy it. It's great fun. It's fun tweeting about it and fun testing out new things. And it's fun to actually provide feedback as well. And I almost certainly promise you that if you file a feedback using the smileys saying that maybe if you say I love this, then maybe you won't get a reply. But if you say, well, this would be great if we could have these features as well, there's a good chance that the product group will actually contact you and ask for more information or thank you for the feedback you provided. So I encourage everyone, install Technical Preview if you have the time and possibilities from hardware and lab environment perspective, and test out the new features and provide feedback. That's how we make the product even better than it is today. That was me talking for a long time. Any questions before we wrap up?
We haven't seen any questions yet.
Everything is crystal clear, and that's perfect. Yeah. Or totally ununderstandable. That's the alternative, of course.
So let's wait a couple of minutes. Maybe people are still typing. Question. I have a question. What's your most favorite technical preview feature? What made it to the product? I think.
Oh, that made it already to the product.
Yeah, that made it already. It's not
I don't know. CM Pivot is great. But I still think if we look at what we can do with the install applications feature with the approval part they did, or instant application delivery, I think that's a great addition as well. Now that we see the power of it, where we can actually web enable it as well. So I think I would say install applications using the approval method.
Yeah, that's a good one indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And now that we see the power of it, I mean, 13 seconds or 15 or what it took to install the app, that's amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's not slow moving software anymore.
No, we can't call it slow moving. At least not that part. I think there are still parts that are slow moving, right? But not this one, at least. Or slower moving, but yeah.
But yeah,
well, it's never been an online system, that's for sure.
Definitely. No, but yeah, like you said, highly encourage people to install the technical preview and test features out, because by testing features out, the code can be even better when it goes to production. So no bugs are in there, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what will show up in the product when it's released. I think timeline is depending on where we're going with OSD over CMG. If everything can be solved, so you can sit at home, get up a VPN connection, and deploy a machine finished, that's awesome. Otherwise, I think timeline will be a great addition as well. You call service desk, I have a problem with my machine, and you can see that you have an app crashed 5 times, you have a driver that crashes or something like that. That's will be a great time saver as well for everyone calling in. So that's I think timeline will be really useful as well.
Yeah.
And I think that feature as well, if I'm not mistaken, I think DJM tweeted that basically everything is in the code for 2002 to actually send this additional information up, as it's only changes in the backend. So in theory, at least, they could actually light all these features up for 2002 current branch users as well. So there's no connection between the feature and so if you only opted in and deploy the feature, they can add features without having to upgrade CM as well.
That's even better.
Yeah, it's an amazing move configuration has gone to get to hybrid as well.
Oh yeah.
So if you install a configuration manager site or come to a customer that isn't using any of the online features, it feels kind of old nowadays.
Yeah. So I don't see any questions. So
no, me neither.
No. Okay, so let's wrap up then. Let's take over sharing.
So Jörgen, if by any chance we get questions, we will of course forward those to you.
Of course,
And,
no problem.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That would be great fun.
Yeah. We do see that a lot of people are actually watching the YouTube videos and might have answers there or questions there as well. But for that, they can also provide comments under the video or do other stuff, of course.
Yeah, exactly, and or send us an email and we will forward the questions also. So thanks again, Jörgen. Thanks again to our sponsors, and remember, in 2 weeks, Bert Wolters will join us, and always leave feedback so we can improve. Thanks again, and hope to see you soon